As this crisis started to unfold, we at Sequoia were thinking that we should start to host virtual events to stay in touch with founders, both in our portfolio and other folks in the community. And one of the things we realized pretty early on is that each founder has a pretty unique set of circumstances that they were dealing with. In this environment, there are a lot of unknowns, but the absolute worst thing that any of us can do right now is not be decisive, is to try to not anticipate and prepare for the future. So I'd encourage all of you guys, if there's one takeaway that we'd encourage all of you to take from this conversation, is to have a bias for action and to try to take these actions using the best available information that we have, and then constantly be adapting as new information starts to emerge. So this adaptability, I think, is what sets apart startups and founders from large companies, and we should make the most of that in this environment. So I think one of the things that a lot of folks have asked in the past from us is, hey, there is so much imperfect information. How do you actually prepare and plan for that? And I think the answer that many of our portfolio founders are using, and we'd encourage you guys to use as well, is to use scenario planning, right? So scenario planning is a way that you can actually try to anticipate, let's say, three outcomes in this market environment. Let's say a good case outcome, a base case outcome, and a worst or conservative case outcome. And the thing that we're encouraging all of our founders to do is to have a plan in place for the worst case environment. For example, the good case outcome could be that markets start to open up in May. A base case might be that it takes until September before some form of activity starts to kick up. And a worst case scenario might be, let's say, 12 months. So we are encouraging all of our portfolio companies to have a plan in place for the worst case environment. And then as and when new information keeps emerging, keep adapting to that. So for example, if information emerges that improves your worst case environment situation, adapt to that. And if it makes it worse, adapt to that as well. But it's important to have these scenarios in mind as you think about what's coming up next, because there are a lot of unknowns and information is rapidly evolving. Each company is obviously very different. Three types of companies which are representative of several companies out there, and obviously there are others as well, but these three hopefully cover a large number of companies. And the first is what I'm at least calling for this conversation, a type A company. A type A company is a company that has a proven economic model, a proven economic engine, and a long runway. When we talk about runway in this conversation, long for us would be somewhere north of 18 months. So if you're somebody who's fortunate enough to be in the type A category of companies, I think this is a very interesting time to try to really double down and put some distance between yourself and your competitor. My partner GB loves the Ayrton Senna quote, the F1 champion who said that you cannot overtake 15 cars in the sunny weather, but you can when it's raining. And so today is a market environment for you, if you're in the type A category, to really try to double down on your business. Type B is also a pretty common category, especially for companies that are venture funded, where they may have just recently raised, but the economic engine and the economic model is yet to be proven. It might be that the company's unit economics may not fully work. It might be that there is still a pretty heavy amount of burn. Maybe a lot of the technology that you need to develop to actually scale your business has not been built out yet. And for companies in this category, we think this is a good time to look at sort of hard decisions that need to be made on business models. So for example, this is an environment where we would encourage you to sacrifice on growth and instead focus on improving the fundamentals of the business, whether it means by changing pricing, by improving margin structures, by renegotiating contracts, by doing things that might otherwise have really slowed you down but are important in the long run. Because I think it's important, if you have long runway, you owe it to yourself and to your business to emerge from these times with an economic engine that is humming and with an economic model that is proven. Because especially in these markets, markets, investors, and potential employees and partners will really appreciate companies that have a proven economic model. So this is a good time to do that. Type C is a type of company where you might have a proven economic engine, but you may not have a lot of runway. Let's say short of 12 months, and this is really the time to conserve cash. In addition to conserving cash, so that you can extend your runway, to really focus on trying to build some of the things internally that are things that you may have deferred in the past. So, for example, that might be internal tooling. It might be improving on the product. It might be improving on culture. It's as they say, when the fishermen can't go out to sea, they mend their nets. So now is the time to focus on internal company building and to really double down so that the company can emerge from this crisis much stronger than it entered it. I think it's also important for us to highlight that this is a very, very critical time for leadership and empathy. And really, I can't emphasize that enough. I think a lot of people in this market environment, your employees, their families, your own family, your customers, your partners, they're all going through tough times. And I think it's important for the best founders, for all of you guys out there, to really step up and demonstrate leadership and empathy. So, it's important for us all to realize that we are in this together. It's not one particular company or one particular type of market that's been impacted. It's a very, very broad impact. And, I think it's important for us to highlight that the way all of us act in these environments is something that people are going to remember for a long period of time. It's going to be the base on which, we will be remembered, the base on which our organization's culture will be built out. And so it's important for us to think about, what that means. And I think a focus on culture is also important to remind all of our partners and employees about what matters, and why are we doing this? Why are we building this business? So, it's the 4 C's of culture, right? It's like building, focus on the community, communicate, have clarity of thought and vision, and really demonstrate commitment to your employees and shareholders and partners. I think over investing in each of these things is going to be something that really builds the foundation of the organization that you're trying to build, and will be something that you will be remembered for a long time to come.